quite important that I haven't really been mentioning about the USA and the USA's Pluto return, which technically we have been going through since about 2019, 2020-ish. And it will be going until around March 2026 time. So what exactly is a Pluto return? A Pluto return is when Pluto returns to its original state that it was in when something was founded or someone was born. So when we're talking about the United States' Pluto return, we're talking about when the United States was founded, Pluto was in this exact position. So we're looking back at the founding days of this country and everything that has taken place to found this country, all the way from the beginning. And that, I believe, is why also, along with a lot of other things, the solar event, so many other things, just our paradigm is shifting. And this Pluto return for the USA is really asking us to look back at when this country was founded and, you know, how can we correct some of the things that we might have done in ignorance or in survival. Pluto is that planet of deep transformation, of karma, of cataclysmic events, of soul regeneration, okay? It's the deep taboo, it's the unseen, it's the mystery. And it also has a lot to do with unseen power, forgotten power, untapped gifts. Think about the underworld, think about Persephone, think about Hades, okay? All of that type of energy, that's the type of territory that Pluto works with. Unseen, taboo, extreme amounts of power that may not meet the eye, but more seen is felt. So if you live in the USA, I'm sure you can see that we are in quite a great dismantling currently in our time. A lot of it is calling us to look back in time and to go back in time and to see what has taken place and to kind of, yes, place judgment on it and to see where we can improve and where we can get to a more even, harmonious ground within this country. We obviously cannot go back in time, but there are ways that we can correct what we are doing now so that we can kind of go back in time and correct the past. This would look like, going back to the founding days of this country and what had taken place that was not right, that was unjust, that was unfair, that was ungodly, that was inhumane. What was done and what took place on this land, because that energy is residual. It creates a blueprint in time, and it's going to continue and continue and continue until it is healed, until it's properly looked at, until it's properly readjusted and reformed, restored, resurrected. We can look at this as the USA is asking for a deep resurrection through all of us. And this means every single person that lives here looking at how we occupy space here, how we occupy land here, how have we occupied land here? How did we end up here in the first place? And really getting real with ourselves and real with our ancestors on how we occupied place in this country. Did we hurt another? Did we steal from another? Did we colonize another? Did our families do that? It is all things to look at, and these things cannot be ignored, and they will not be able to be ignored because we no longer can sustain this way of ignorance in this country or on this planet. Things need to be really closured out with deep closure and understanding and no more confusion. So I invite you, to those of you that have found themselves in deep, cataclysmic events and sceneries in this country, I ask you and I just, implore you to look deeper at, okay, this is a Pluto return for this country. How am I a part of this? Am I here to dismantle this system and help build something new and better, you know, we can only complain so much before new things and new structures have to be instilled and built and put up. So I'm just putting this out there so that many of you that do live in the USA, or even those of you that do not live in the USA, you're kind of able to be like, if you're into astrology, you can be like, okay, that makes sense. The United States is going through its Pluto return. There's no wonder why there's this fall of Rome feel, and why we are, restructuring and rebuilding from a new foundation that has no wobbly boards, that has no lies and secrecy at the foundation. There's a lot that has to do with the founding of this country, and trickery and sneaks and treaties and such, that has to be looked at and has to be dismantled properly, because we will not be able to move forward without that accountability and responsibility from all parties, all people, all places, and all races that were there. We can do so much better than our ancestors have done before, because we occupy the knowledge, we occupy the empathy, and we know the truth. For those of us that know the truth, we know the truth of the founding of this country, and we know what needs to be done in order to resurrect and restore her properly to her natural and organic state. That is Turtle Island, home of many indigenous cultures, customs, and tribes that have had their voices muffled out by the colonizer for far too long. So that's why Earth is purging. She no longer will hold these unsettled, unsustainable ways of being anymore. We are here to birth new ways, and Pluto has a lot to do with birth as well. It's rebirth. Pluto is all about the rebirth, soul regeneration. We are resurrecting from the ashes here. So yes, allow us to burn it down, allow us to dismantle, but also allow us to create life and build new things, new structures, new foundations that will be able to hold us up truthfully and with no lies, with no trickery, with no doublespeak. Look into the Pluto return if you're interested in learning more about what the United States is going through right now and why it's so massively upheavaling to so many of us in our lifestyles and the way that we live. It's very important. It's all in the stars. It's always all in the stars. All we have to do is look up and be able to interpret what we're looking at.